scared me. I'm so embarrassed. You caught me in the middle of one of my many homotastic, delusional day fantasies in which I act out the scene from Angels in America where Pryor and Harper meet in Dreamland, and... what a silly little situation we found ourselves in. Let me slip into something, a little bit more comfortable to have this conversation in. Since we're on the topic of one of the greatest gay characters to grace the Golden Gates of Hollywood, I must get something off my delicate little chest. I am, unfortunately, one of those annoying little queers that doesn't believe that, in the current state of the entertainment industry, cishet, or cisgendered heterosexual actors, or for those of you who weren't on Tumblr in the early 2010s, men and women who identify as both straight and with the gender they were assigned to at birth should play queer roles. Welcome to my inaugural video, why straight actors playing gay roles is bad, actually. Now, before the pitchforks start coming out and you start questioning what even then is the point of being an actor, making murderer allegories and/or trying to file HR complaints on the basis of sexual discrimination, I think that it's important to take a deeper look into the types of media that are being produced and who is currently getting cast in them. For the sake of the length of this video, let's primarily focus on mainstream and critically acclaimed on-camera work. But why not? I'll throw in some theater too, because I'm sure then there will be some better representation, right? So I will address one valid piece of criticism of this topic here at the start, being that of closeted actors and the actor's right to privacy. I don't believe that any actor should be forced out of the closet before they are ready, and I also believe that actors are entitled to a life of privacy. But as a queer actor, I struggle with this idea of questioning actors should be allowed to use queer roles as a means of exploring their sexuality. While roleplay and simulation are psychologically approved methods of safe ways to explore sexuality, acting is a job, not a therapy session. Many methodologies and training programs warn against the dangers of using acting as such. The Stanislavski method, which is credited to be the birth of modern acting, claims that an adult actor must use 7 years of time before using personal experience in their work. While I don't entirely agree with this length of time, I do believe that emotional distance from an experience is best for an authentic and safe for both the actor and their scene partner's performances. Now, the right to privacy is a different concern. An actor being closeted is valid. Everyone has the right to come out at their own pace. But I question if someone is emotionally ready to take on a challenging queer role if they are not ready to live authentically and openly queer. TikTok influencer, internet comedian, musical theater actor, and fellow graduate of the same acting program as me, Crawford Horton, or @Broiled Crawfish, discusses some of these feelings of masking or masking up his identity in a recent Vice article. He states, "I used to do everything I could to not be a in the audition room, but the past 6 months have taught me to embrace my family. I love being queer. I said it before and I'll say it again. I am a gay idiot and I wouldn't have it any other way." Luckily, he was able to find niche success embracing his queerness, and that's a journey I hope for everyone. Yet, that's not a current reality. By perpetuating this idea that an actor has a right to remain closeted due to fear of limited career opportunities, it allows producers and directors to continue this cycle of poor representation and laziness when approached to find new queer talent. By this admission, queer actors are already at a disadvantage for acting opportunities, thus beginning the conversation as to why queer roles should in fact, right now, be limited to queer actors. Let's take a look at the last several major projects that featured a queer leading characters over recent years. For this sample, we're going to use Love, Simon, Love, Victor, The Danish Girl, Dallas Buyers Club, Beach Rats, Lady Bird, Boy Erased, Carol, Pose, Call Me By Your Name, Moonlight, The Inheritance, The Boys in the Band, and upcoming films Monsoon and Ammonite, Amani, I think it's French, the one with Saoirse Ronan.
Ammonite.
Now, what's wild about these projects is that only 2 features a queer actor in the leading role. The Boys in the Band, which features pretty much the only group of working gay male actors in Hollywood, Pose, which is like, duh, and if we're really splitting hairs here, don't hold me to saying this, Dallas Buyers Club with Jared Leto's potential pansexuality, but the role that he was playing was a transgendered woman, so no, that film does not count, it doesn't get any points, and definitely puts the film on my shit list. So, out of these 15 recent projects, only 2 featured a queer actor in a leading queer role, and, I think that's 13%. Now, I have a BFA and haven't taken a math class since high school, but I'm pretty sure that's a failing grade. Also of note, both of these projects, Pose and the Boys in the Band movie, are produced by the same person. This isn't to say that there aren't working queer actors killing the representation game. Sarah Paulson, Matt Bomer, Kristen Stewart, MJ Rodriguez, Laverne Cox, begrudgingly Neil Patrick Harris, have all made careers playing queer roles and sometimes cishet roles as well, both on stage and screen. The ones who most notably play all types of characters, including queer and cishet roles, are Kristen Stewart, Sarah Paulson, Matt Bomer, and Neil Patrick Harris, which are all white, conventionally attractive, and cisgendered. This speaks to another problem in Hollywood entirely, but that would require its own very long video. Also, Sarah Paulson, in the slim chance that you're watching this, you're incredible and iconic, and I love you, and I would be honored if you would please step on my neck. What boggles my mind most about this phenomenon is that both actors Leto and upcoming star of Monsoon and absolute heartthrob Henry Golding have gone on the record about the issues of queer representation in film and how much harder it is for queer actors to get roles. Yet both then continued to accept said queer roles. As a working, and I use that term loosely, actor myself, I saw the breakdowns for the leading roles in the follow-up to the mega-successful rom-com Love, Simon, TV show Love, Victor, which was originally supposed to air on Disney+, but then was pulled in post and moved to Disney-owned property Hulu for unclear reasons. And they were actively seeking a gay actor to play both the titular role and his love interest, yet neither of which in the series ultimately ended up being. This ends up with the phenomenon of actors using phrases like, I consulted my cousin, or I used to work as a hairdresser, or I talked to my gay friends and I took it very seriously. Now, this isn't to discredit any of the actors' performances on these projects. Some of them gave absolutely incredible performances. A good amount of them were apparently worthy of Oscar nominations and wins, but then that breeds a whole new problem. In the 2020 Netflix documentary, Disclosure, Trans Lives on Screen, activist, writer, actor, and producer Jen Richards beautifully explains why even though Eddie Redmayne's performance in The Danish Girl is brilliant, it furthers the idea that transness is a man playing dress-up and actually perpetuates violence against trans women. I cannot recommend watching Disclosure enough. This definitely isn't to say that watching Timothée Chalamet cry into a fireplace with Sufjan Stevens playing softly in the background is going to lead to a huge spike in hate crimes against white gay twinks. The danger and problem of this type of representation isn't as drastic. And most of the time when you watch a gay movie and enjoy an actor's performance, you then have to Google the actor's sexuality, and if you can't find anything about it, then you doom scroll on the actor's social media and read articles and end up on countless Reddit forums reading discussions on said person's sexuality, and you just let yourself feel anger and rage against the entire entertainment industry. But this does actually create a different issue. Here's a simple walkthrough on how playing gay works for queer versus straight actors. If you're gay and you can't play straight, you're too gay for the industry. If you're gay and you're cast as gay, you're letting yourself be put in the gay box. When a straight person plays straight, it's normal, no one even begins to have a discussion about it. When a straight person plays gay, however, that launches careers, it wins awards, it makes lots of money. So when people use the argument, what even then is the point of acting, or you don't have to be a murderer to play one, you're missing an essential piece of logic that these two things are not the same. When a straight person is playing a straight role, the conversation of the character's straightness never even enters the chat. It's about motivation, action, tactics, feelings, etc. Nobody asks how being straight has affected the character's life. Now, when there is a queer character, the character's queerness, for whatever reason, becomes the central defining part of the character. How visibly queer the character is, does the character sound gay, whatever that means? Do they live a lonely life where they listen to sad music and tend to their plants to fill a romantic void? All of the basic foundations of give and take in scene work are, for whatever reason, thrown out the door. The character's sexuality becomes part of playing at the character, instead of casting a queer actor and letting the actor act. End of conversation. When a straight actor plays a queer role, nobody questions the validity of how queer that actor seems, because queerness is a spectrum and comes in all presentations, yet straightness, aptly named, has a narrow definition. Therefore, when someone knows that an actor is queer, they are held under ridicule for how straight passing the actor can present. It is a meticulous double standard that queer actors are subjected to. The amount of roles written for queer people is already less, and then to give most of them to straight actors is then to leave a lot of gay actors out of work. I think now is a good time to talk about how actors, especially on the scale of the projects sampled before, got those jobs. A lot of you on here, on Beyonce's internet, that I assumed have never worked in any capacity in the entertainment industry before, seem to think that limiting queer roles to queer actors would be some form of discrimination, in that when projects are casting, you can hit submit blindly like an Indeed ad for an interview. No, this isn't how this works. On the level that these projects are working, a director and producer would usually meet with a casting director to create a short list of the types of actors that they would dream for to be cast in these roles. A short list usually contains A-list celebrities that might be out of budget, have conflicts, or simply has no interest in this type of work. In huge mega projects, something like Ryan Murphy's adaptation of The Prom, featuring a slew of A-list megastar names, they might have very well gotten their shortlist dream cast. But for companies like Blumhouse, A24, Neon, etc., these films can usually only afford to get one, maybe two A/B-list celebrities who are probably offer only, meaning that they don't have to audition and only accept roles that they are given directly. And then they have to post breakdowns for agents to submit their rosters to fill the rest of the cast. The agents and managers then submit their actors to the casting director for the process to start from there. Sidebar. This process is probably actually why we have like 9 Margot Robbies and 870 indistinguishable Chris's. In the case of Monsoon, it seems to be that Henry Golding was offer only, given the interview where he expressed hesitation on accepting the role after being approached by the project. Films like this, which have a smaller budget, usually need a big-name actor to secure investors and increase the budget. This is probably a similar case for Cate Blanchett in Carol, Armie Hammer in Call Me By Your Name, and Lucas Hedges in Boy Erased. I'm not entirely certain of the offer-only status of these actors and/or projects, but I am sure the breakdowns weren't taken all too seriously into consideration because star names were required to secure funding for the creation of these films. Investors hear names like Cate Blanchett, Nicole Kidman, Darren Criss, Jake Gyllenhaal, and just start throwing money at these projects. So this then creates an interesting question on projects like Call Me By Your Name, Beach Rats, the West End hit turned Broadway transfer, The Inheritance, which even features a scene in which the characters mock Sean Penn's performance of Harvey Milk getting praised with the line, "So brave, Sean, so brave," while all 3 of the romantic leading men in the play were played by cishet actors. Regardless, all of these project cast at the time relatively no-name actors that could have been gay. I think that it's perfectly reasonable for an agent and actor to sit down and have the conversation of, what am I allowed to submit you for? What are you comfortable with? When my agent signed me, we had that conversation. They made me feel seen, represented, valued, and considered. So why aren't more agents asking these questions and then following through on that? The answer is, unfortunately, like most things in capitalist America, money. Once again, straight actors playing gay roles gives an actor credibility, Oscar bait, edge. Call Me By Your Name could have given an upcoming queer actor the same launch that Timothée Chalamet got, which he definitely still would have gotten anyway, given that he had 800 films at Sundance that year. His agents were very effective. And then, with the success of Call Me By Your Name, that queer actor could have then been an A-list name to acquire funding for future queer roles, and then adding some queer talent into the fold of Hollywood. For example, let's look at Pose, one of the most groundbreaking shows with some of the best representation Hollywood has seen to date. That show launched the careers and lined the pockets of tons of queer and trans actors of color. Now, looking back at the cast of The Boys in the Band, another Ryan Murphy project, there seems to be a required level of masculinity and attractiveness of queer men in Hollywood. As mentioned, getting into the room as a queer actor is hard enough. This doesn't even begin to factor in race, body type, conventional attractiveness, height, and once again, as much as I hate this word, cishet passability. Pose is an exception to the rule, thank God for it, but unfortunately, it isn't the rule. I think that when people are ignoring the issue when they believe that queer representation of the actor being genuine isn't real when you purely look at the numbers. I was called many homophobic slurs before I even knew what they meant as a child just because I was an actor in regional theater. There is an inherent association with the art form with queerness. Anyone who has ever been around a theater knows that there is no deficit for queer talent in the industry, so that forces the question, why are there so few queer actor household names? Brokeback Mountain is arguably one of the first mainstream gay movies to make it into theaters widespread across America, and I personally believe that that movie would never have been greenlit if 2 actors were cast in those roles. So, when 2 straight actors are cast, it provides a safety net for straight audiences that potentially have prejudices. They're just pretending. It's not real. That softness, that embrace, the lack of lube for first-time bottom, as well as right after eating a can of beans over a fire. By casting at least 1 straight actor in a leading romantic couple, it saves the audience with suspension of disbelief. That actor isn't enjoying the kiss. It's just a job. Now, if 2 gay actors were cast in the film, it would then border the pornographic, the perverse. Mainstream audiences would have to confront their prejudices and feel a little uncomfortable seeing a genuine human experience put up close in HD before them, in movie theaters, potentially inviting them into their homes, maybe their children seeing it. When the actors are straight, it's just playing pretend. I'll end with an allegory of hope. Maybe one day there will be enough genuine representation and understanding of the fluidity of human sexuality that we can pay less attention to the actor's personal life, but we're not there yet. My sophomore year of college, in the first main stage production I was a part of, I played a closeted gay character who was supposedly in love with the female protagonist until she remarks at the end of the play, "When will you understand that you're not in love with me and that you are actually attracted to men?" In our previews, a faculty member came up to me after the show and said, "The whole time I was so confused. I was saying to myself, this actor is so gay, he's so wrong for the role," until the character came out. And at that point, I said, "Aha, you're so right." In the description of the character in the script, it only notes, "should be played straight." So I went to the director and had a meltdown and asked him I needed to change everything about my performance. This director, who went on to be one of my favorite teachers and mentors to this day, calmed me down, looked me in the eyes, and said, "You're bringing this role a level of sensitivity and joy and goodness that is perfect to the character. If this person associates those qualities with gayness, that's on her prejudice and not on your performance." It was in this moment that I realized that I needed to stop chasing the idea of playing straight, and that I was enough. I knew then that I wanted to create a world where queer representation is on the basis of talent, authenticity, and bringing yourself to everything. So to any queer actors watching this, we will have our time, at some point, where we are judged on the basis of our skills rather than who we love. Until then, we need to fight for as much visibility as possible.